بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآل الطيبين الطاهرين
اللهم صل على محمد
لا سيما بقية الله في العالمين وصلى الله على فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن رحمتك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Last week we started discussion about wafa, loyalty. But we said that when we refer to Quran and Hadith, we have different types of wafa. So maybe it's difficult to use loyalty for all of them. But in a sense, you can use loyalty. Sometimes we have al-wafa'u bil-ahd. When you make a kind of treaty or covenant or a contract with someone or with a group, with an organization, you need to be committed to that commitment that you have made. For example, it can be a simple contract for selling and buying, can be for doing some work, can be employment, can be citizenship, can be different types of contract. When you make a contract, when you enter into a treaty, you have to keep your word and be loyal. You know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, much before advent of Islam, when he was a young person, accepted to be part of a treaty, Helpful Fudul, which involved few youths of Mecca who had seen mistreatment of a stranger who had come to Mecca and had entrusted some of his valuables with some people, but unfortunately they didn't show respect, they didn't show trustworthiness, and so Rasulullah and some youths decided to promise that we will support strangers. Even much later in his life, after Islam and he became prophet, he said, if I am called today to act upon that treaty, I am committed. So passage of time, change in your position, like you were an ordinary person, now you are Rasulullah. You were young, now you are middle-aged. That was before Islam, and now it's a new era, the era of revelation, you know, Risala, everything doesn't change the situation. You have to still be loyal. So this is al-wafa'u bil-ahd. Sometimes we said we have al-wafa'u bil-wa'd. You promise. Here it's unilateral. Ahd is a kind of giving and taking, or a kind of commitment with some people. But sometimes it's wa'd. I tell you, I do this for you. I tell my child, I will buy this for you. For example, if you get good results from exam, I'm going to buy for you this. So this is not a treaty between me and him. This is me committing myself. Maybe many times I was not obligated to make this promise. It can be many times your own initiative. Yeah? You make this promise. But after you make the promise, then it becomes necessary. Okay? But the necessity of ahd is more than wa'd. Yes? Because wa'd is somehow unilateral, but ahd is part of a kind of agreement, a treaty. So, in my understanding, wafa bil ahd is even more serious than wafa bil wa'd. Although wafa bil wa'd is also necessary. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Idatul mu'min daynun." When mu'min promises, it's like a debt on his shoulder. But still, ahd is more. Sometimes we said there is no ahd necessarily, at least there is no formal treaty. There is no wa'd, but still there is wafa, a kind of loyalty. For example, loyalty that you should have with your parents. You didn't sign formally any kind of treaty, or you are not even required to promise something. Even if you have not promised, it doesn't make any difference. You have to be loyal to your parents, to your family, to your brothers and sisters, to your household. Yeah? Or loyalty to your country. Yeah? You should be loyal to your country. Maybe some people have become citizens by signing a contract, or by making a vow of loyalty. But maybe you are born in that country, so you are not officially, part of any treaty. But still, you have to be loyal to your country. You cannot betray your country. Okay, this is wafa, a land from which I have been born and raised. I have to be loyal to that land. Okay? Or a place that I have benefited from. For example, I have studied in some school. I should feel I have some responsibility towards that school. In my primary, for example, education, I was in one school. For example, later I came to Jose. I should feel I have some loyalty towards that place that I have benefited from. Okay? So here, it becomes very close to gratefulness. So wafa is here a kind of gratefulness, a kind of appreciation that you show to something that you have benefited from. Yeah? If someone doesn't feel responsible towards the school or house that he or she has studied, he doesn't have wafa. Wafa doesn't need to be with people. Wafa can be with respect to institutions. Okay? Or wafa to our teacher, wafa to imam of our masjid. If there is an imam in our masjid, we have said our prayer behind him, we have learned from him, he has taught us many things. There should be wafa. Not that, we don't have any relation. Unfortunately, sometimes people, for example, bring ulama, they sign contract, this is our resident alim, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, after that, Khuda Hafiz. No wafa. I heard someone, said that he used to be resident alim somewhere, and people for Eid, all other functions used to come and, wait in queue to shake hand. As soon as his contract finished, no one was going to visit him. This is not wafa. This is not loyalty. we have to go beyond these formalities. Formalities are good to bring us to some kind of relation. But when those formalities stop, the relation should not stop. Okay? So they are good to connect us, but then we should not be disconnected after those contracts finish. Okay? Or marriage. Marriage is a very important treaty, and loyalty should be there because it's a promise, it's a treaty, and even if God forbids, if for some reason there is divorce, I believe you have to be still showing some kind of loyalty to your ex-husband or ex-wife. It's mother of your children. You cannot say, I don't bother what happens to her. If you realize mother of your children, your ex-wife is in hospital, what should you do? You say, we don't have any contract now? I have no responsibility. You have to feel responsible. You have to be grateful to the good time that you had together. So, we want to extend loyalty of husband and wife even to the time after marriage being stopped. But some people want to stop loyalty even when marriage is going on. So we are working against this type of forces. So loyalty is very comprehensive. One of the things that I want to discuss today with you is the relation between wafa and sidq. Is there any relation between these two or not? And if there is a relation, what is the relation? Basically, wafa or loyalty has close relation with truthfulness. But in some cases, it's more obvious. For example, if you have signed a contract, if you have become part of a treaty, so you have given your word in writing or orally, and you have to keep your word. So if you sign it and your intention is not to keep loyal to this, you are lying. Yeah, if I sign, a contract and my intention is I don't keep this, you have to keep it. And the difference here between other cases is that not only your intention for keeping it must be there when you sign it, afterwards also you have to keep it. You cannot say, when I signed it, I really meant it, but now I changed my mind. Because some people say like this, I was honestly signing this, but now I changed my mind. Here, truthfulness requires to remain loyal. Why? Because you said, when you sign something, is that this is a permanent commitment. So when you permanently, or for a period of time, 10 years, whatever, you sign something, then it's not enough to intend to act upon it just at the time of signing it. So even if later you change your mind, you are not truthful. Because you made a commitment for either all your life or for 10 years, 20 years. So during that period, you have to remain loyal. It's not just enough to say, I had the intention on the day that I signed it. Okay? So when a mu'min commits himself, no matter how new or fresh is this commitment, he has to observe it. Otherwise, he's not truthful. Okay? Also, here, in addition to general truthfulness, we have Ḥaqq nas. We have a right of people over us. You know, if I tell you I saw a camel on the street when I was coming here, I saw a camel on the street. So this is a lie. But I'm not harming anyone. There is no Ḥaqq nas here. Yes? But still is a lie. But when I am not keeping loyal to the covenant that I have made or promise that I have made, it is a lie plus I am disregarding the right of that party over myself. It's worse than telling a lie. Is it clear? You, for example, say, I built this house for you with good materials. When you build the house for me, I see materials are not good. And you say, you know what happened? Everything became expensive. When I signed the contract with you, they were not that expensive. Then I realized I cannot keep the price as I promised, so I had to use cheaper materials. So you are, affecting me. You are harming me. You are not observing my rights. So there is truthfulness plus disregarding the right of people. Of course, if you look at it carefully, again, this goes back to truthfulness, because there is Ḥaqq here which is disregarded. It's not just Ḥaqq of the word, it's also Ḥaqq of people. When there is not promise or treaty, and it is loyalty of a person towards someone or institution that he has benefited from or has worked for them or has been, for example, in relation with them, here it's not clearly a sign of truthfulness or being lying. But again, it's a matter of observing the right that people have over you. If someone has benefited from a school, or from a hawza, or from a teacher, or from imam, or from a country, or from an organization, from a moral point of view, you are in debt to them. Maybe not legally. You have studied in that school and you have paid the fees, for example, or it was free. So legally, you don't have anything to observe, they don't have any right over you, but morally you have great right to observe. They have right and you have to observe. If you don't observe this right, so there is a truth that you have denied. As you were trying to mention, there is a truth, there is a Ḥaqq here which you have denied. Because if you remember, when we were talking about Ḥaqq, we said Ḥaqq is something that exists or something that should exist. And we said sometimes Ḥaqq is not to say what is true necessarily. Ḥaqq is to say what should be said. You remember example of someone, a mother whose son has or daughter has just been killed in accident. Yes, I said although truth is to say that your son was killed, your daughter was killed, but this is not qawlul haqq. Here you have to be careful about how to share this news with her. Don't just say, I told the truth. Yes? So, it's much more complicated than telling the truth. So, here, there is something that should be observed. There is a kind of moral responsibility that we should observe, and this is Ḥaqq. And if you don't observe it, you are not truthful. Why we don't observe this? normally it's because we are selfish. Or we want to be free. You know, we try to avoid anything that brings responsibility to us as much as possible. يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه. If we are not trained spiritually, if we have not worked on our nafs, we try to disregard anything that brings restrictions as much as possible because we want to do whatever we want, as we wish. So I don't want to observe these rights that people have over me. I don't want to observe these loyalties because I want to do whatever I like anytime. Yes? We try to avoid making commitments. So there is a relation between truthfulness and wafa, but not just telling the truth. Is more than just telling the truth. Is observation of ḥaqq, what either is the case or what should be the case, whether it is reality or whether it is what should be the reality. Because both can be ḥaqq. In some cases, the reality is ḥaqq. In some cases, the reality has to change to what is ḥaqq. Okay? So, this is the relation between wafa and truthfulness. What I would like to do is to read a hadith for you, and inshallah you think about wafa, and we continue this discussion inshallah next week. This hadith is about some of the very important virtues in Islam. You remember we said this is one of the very fundamental values. According to what Allama Majlisi rahmatullah alayh has mentioned in Bihar al-Anwar, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أقربكم غدا مني في الموقف. أقربكم غدا مني في الموقف. The nearest of you to me tomorrow, means on the day of resurrection, في الموقف, when we all stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the nearest of you to me on the day of resurrection are these people. You know, on the day of judgment, to be able to be in the circle of Rasulullah, in the camp of Rasulullah is very important. يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. So it's not that every Muslim will be with Rasulullah. Yeah? You have to be really a follower of Rasulullah in his conduct, in his character. But then those who are in the circle of Rasulullah, some are close to the center, some are far away. So Rasulullah says, the nearest of you to me are these people. أصدقكم للحديث. Those who are the most truthful in their speech. Most honest, most truthful in their speech. أصدقكم للحديث. If someone is a liar, forget. Even those who are truthful, those who are most truthful are near Rasulullah. So if someone every 6 months tells one lie, still he cannot be close to Rasulullah. Every 6 months. What about someone who every minute tells a lie? وَأَدَّاكُمْ لِلْأَمَانَةِ. Those who are most trustworthy, most careful about delivery of the trust. Adda is اسم تفضيل. Means they do ada'ul amana more than others. They deliver the trust more than anyone else. And delivery of trust before is not just someone gives you money or gold and you give back. Delivery of trust, amana, is very comprehensive. Part of amana is that when there is a position, we should all try to help the most qualified one to occupy that position. If I see that there is a person who is qualified for that position, but then I put myself in that position, I put my cousin or friend or a person from my village or tribe in that position, this is not amana, this is khiyana. This is to betray. It has lots of, implications. Ada'ul amana. Third, وَأَوْفَاكُمْ بِالْعَهْدِ. Those who are most loyal to their covenants, to their treaties. This is wafa. You have to be most loyal. وَأَحْسَنُكُمْ خُلْقًا. Those who are the best in their akhlaq. Very good in their temper. They are people who are very soft, very gentle, very nice, very kind. Husnul khuluq. We had discussion about husnul khuluq. وَأَقْرَبُكُمْ مِنَ النَّاسِ. Very beautiful. أَقْرَبُكُمْ مِنَ النَّاسِ. The nearest of you to people. What does it mean? Nearest to people. It means that they are very humble. They easily mix with people. They don't feel they are superior to people. They don't isolate themselves from people. Because those who have takabbur, arrogance, they try to keep separate from people. They think mixing with people is undermining their prestige. Why I should sit with people? Why I should, eat with people? Of course, sometimes there are people who may spiritually damage you or harm you. That's another case. But with good people, like poor people, there are people who are poor. There are people who have no position. There are people, orphans, for example, poor people, needy people, refugees, strangers, learners. So, because you are rich or you have high position or you have ilm, you should not feel I am not sitting with them. I only sit with people who are either in my level or better than me. No. You have to be very close to people. Like Rasulullah himself. Rasulullah was not saying, I don't mix with people. And it is interesting that how being near to people makes you able to be near to Rasulullah. Yes? Because it started, أَغْرَبُكُمْ غَدًا مِنِّي, the nearest to me, then ends with أَغْرَبُكُمْ مِنَ النَّاسِ. This is why I always say in Islamic spirituality, your relation with Allah depends also on your relation with people. You cannot say, I have only a relation with Allah and I don't want to bother about people. If you want to get closer to Allah, you have to be with people, you have to love people, you have to serve people, you have to be humble. This is a sign of getting closer to Allah. How can you feel that you are moving towards Allah? It's very difficult. Because many people think that they are getting closer to Allah, but indeed, they are not getting closer to Allah. They are just becoming more proud of themselves. A sign, one of the signs of a person who is moving towards Allah is that he becomes more humble. Therefore, he can more easily relate to people. He would start loving people. Okay? If you feel that you are becoming a special, I am becoming a special, I am becoming outstanding, this means that you are getting closer to shaitan, not to Allah. If someone says, Alhamdulillah, I have become Arif, you are not Arif, you are Jahil. If you say that I am the least of people, I am just like dust, maybe inshallah you are Arif, maybe. I'm not saying everyone who says this, because even people may say this mistakenly, but there is a chance. If someone says I am dust and feels his dust, there is a chance that he must be great, maybe. But if someone says I am great, no chance. There is no possibility. So, this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam expects from us. Truthfulness, trustworthiness, loyalty, good-naturedness, and humbleness, closeness to people. And I was telling some people, when I was reading this hadith, that imagine if Muslims were known to have these qualities. If we had these qualities and people knew this from us, do you think there could be anyone in the world who would fight Islam or Muslims? No. Why? Because either they are good people or bad people. Non-Muslims, some of them are good, some of them are bad. Those who are good people, they love these qualities. And if they see these qualities in anyone, they love him. So they are not going to destroy you or fight you or harm you. Bad people, they don't like these things. But then those good people who are non-Muslims would stop them. If in our, for example, area, a neighborhood, if we have someone who is very, very good, no one bothers him because other people will defend him. Unfortunately, today sometimes I feel we don't receive enough sympathy from non-Muslims. There are people who show sympathy, but not enough. Part of it is because of us. Part of it's propaganda, but part of it also because of us. Because they should see something that attracts them, that they should show sympathy. If they see people that Rasulullah is describing, definitely they will show sympathy. Maybe they are ready to die for you. But if, na'uzu billah, they see there is a Muslim neighbor who annoys people and lies and, doesn't pay tax, doesn't observe regulations, then they would say, why I should show sympathy? So, relation of people also to some extent depends on us. I'm not saying 100%, because there are people who really don't want to see any good. But majority of people are not like that. Majority of people appreciate good qualities, appreciate people who have good character. So, wafa, as you see in this hadith, comes at the top of the list of the virtues, like ada'ul amana, sidqul hadith, and husnul khuluq. Inshallah, think about this, especially about the relation between wafa and truthfulness, and I hope next week we will be able to finish the discussion about wafa. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.